Tú puedes chequear si tú lo ves. 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 Huepa, huepa. Un segundito, por favor. Puede ser copyright. Puede ser copyright. Puede ser copyright. Puede ser copyright. All right. Sorry guys, I'm setting something up here fairly quick, so I'll keep working in a second here. I haven't streamed in like forever, so just give me a few. I wish I could put music, but apparently all the copyright stuff will mess it up, so So I have some music on, but I don't know if you guys can hear it. I don't think you should be able to hear, but let me know if you do, so I can stop it. But I don't think you should be able to hear it now. All right. Hey, Jaime. From Mexico. That's cool. I was actually just there maybe like a month ago, I think. In Mexico. It was so good. Hey, Brian. Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out once again. We'll see how it goes. It's been a long time since I've worked on some personal stuff. How's everything doing, Brian? Actually, I may use this one here. Oh, nice. You're teaching high school? Like art or something else? Oh, nice. To Greece and Italy? That sounds fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. Can you guys hear my music by any chance? Just want to make sure that I'm not Oh, okay, cool. Cool. Hey, Marlene. Oh, no problem. My pleasure. Any questions that you guys may have, feel free to put them on the chat. It's gonna be a pretty casual, relaxed time. So, do you texture this model before paid over? Or do you keep it basically? So right now, yes, I would normally texture it, but right now I'm still taking it slow on the design phase, and so I'm going back and forth between modeling and figuring out the design, which is probably what I'm gonna do right now. So right now I'm gonna taking a screenshot of the top view here to go into Photoshop and sketched out the design that I want to be on the floor. So I'm going to break out the textures and forms on the ground here, and so yeah, but eventually I'll texture it and stuff. And oh, triangles, I don't know, it says here faces are 676,000 right now, but I really never count them, because this is not supposed to be meant or made for in-game asset. This is mostly for concept art stuff. But wireframe is still pretty clean, except these columns things that I made earlier. So these are still pretty heavy, I guess. I don't know, but this is mostly concept art, so no, I don't worry about it. Are all your props made in Blender, or do you also use external software like 3D Code? Yeah, I'll probably use 3D Code for this project. just because I know it's gonna be a lot easier to build certain things in 3D Code than in Blender. I can definitely do it in Blender, but if I want to save time and probably have a little bit of a better result, I will do certain things in 3D Code. Though when I do things in Blend or in 3D Code, they turn up to be a little bit more dirty with the geometry, and so I'll try to do as much as I can in Blender just so I can keep the model clean, or as clean as possible. And also I'm going for a more stylized results and rendering for this project, and so I don't like going too crazy with the models in terms of the complexity of the sculpting. So I'm gonna try to keep it as clean as possible to keep that sort of aesthetic. And I have some sketches made up already, so it's gonna be sort of like this style here for this thing that I made a while back. A little bit painterly, right? But the design language is gonna be a little bit different, but the painter, like the rendering style, is gonna be like this. And this is just like a rough sketch that I made before starting to the full, like the actual model of the general idea of the space. It's going to be like a traces of like a big explosion here, because this is like an alchemy sort of lab area, and so there's going to be like a traces of an explosion that broke down this whole wall, and there's going to be like water falling down through here and light coming from the outside, and bookshelves and a table and stuff like that. These are like the general idea of it, but now I want to figure out a little bit closer to what the ground design is going to be. Yeah, I actually I actually used to use Maya before Blender, like way back, but I have never been forced to use a specific 3D software. I have had some way back some interviews for specific companies that they require me to do either use or Unity or Unreal, like specifically one of those two. But in terms of 3D, I don't think it matters as much because you can translate pretty well. I think if you're a good 3D artist, you can be a good 3D artist in any software. Let's see, top, down, around design. All right. Yeah, so I'm gonna sketch a little bit here. Try to figure out this ground design here. Remove this. All right. I have a huge mess in my desk, so let's see. All right, let's see what we got. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and even some, I mean, this is gonna vary depending on the company that you're working with. Like I remember when I was on Castlevania as the lead background designer, I was that time I was using Maya, which it was probably like probably 9 years ago, and I was using Maya, and then Blender came out with the newer version where they sort of revamped the whole UI and stuff, and I started using that Blender, and I pitched to the studio for anybody that was using 3D to start using Blender, because one, it was free, and two, it was just more simple to do a lot of things that we needed. And so with time, we sort of made that transition, and it helped a lot. Yeah, but mainly for concept art, doesn't matter as much. Let's see what. Um, at the beginning, not all of them, but closer to season 4, they were mostly, made in 3D in terms of like, building it up and making renders and painting them over and stuff. The reason we did that was because when I was working as the lead, part of my job was to not only supervise like the in-house team of background artists, but also the outsourcing companies. And so, outsourcing company, when I first started there, they were doing like, I don't know, like 85-90% of the backgrounds based on our initial background. So let's say we had 10 locations, we'll do like 1 to 3 backgrounds from those locations, and then we'll send those to the outsource company, and then they will do the rest of the backgrounds based on those, right? And based on the script and whatever was happening. But a lot of time, most of the time, we had to fix a lot of their backgrounds. And so a way to mitigate that damage was to actually, for us to build it in 3D and making renders for 60% of the background, since we had already the camera set up and the main textures, the lighting and all that. And we'll send the renders out, and then they will paint over the renders. And it took a lot back and forth, right? But by the last season, or the season 3, we were doing a lot of the backgrounds in-house, and we had way less continuity issues that we didn't have to fix in post-production. And so doing that in 3D really helped us a lot with mitigating that damage, and making sure that everything was running fluently, and there were not that many mistakes. And the 3D helped a lot with that. It took a long time to figure out, but I think we did pretty good. Actually, I do want that. Do I want a carpet here? Since I left art school, I seem to have a pretty big art block. Do you have any tips to get back motivated? Uh, I might be the wrong person to ask because I don't really like. I understand your question, but every time I hear lack of motivation related questions, a lot of times is due to either you just simply don't have a process that you can almost replicate to create art, right? And so a lot of artists, and again, this is all my opinion, right, based on my experience and how I am as an artist, but a lot of artists don't have that, especially if you're starting out. They don't have like a way for them to start an idea, develop it and finish that idea, right? They don't have a pipeline in place for them to do that. So if you don't have that, I think it's really hard to always come up with that every single time you want to start something because you don't have that main process. And so and the other problem is that if you rely always on feeling good about or motivated about doing your artwork, right? If you always relied on that, it's almost like you're putting crushes on you every single time. And so that could be problematic if you go into the professional setting, because we as professionals, we really can't afford to depend on motivation to do the work, right? And so I think it's very important, especially if you want to jump into the professional setting, that you create some sort of process and pipeline, like a very tangible way of doing things. So it doesn't matter whether you feel motivated or not. It's just a matter of following that process. Now, some people, they need that structure for somebody to tell them, hey, we need to be doing this and be doing that, which is totally fine. And so if you're that type of person, then you need to put yourself in a situation where you have that structure. And so some artists don't need that structure. They can do it themselves. They can almost act as their own art director every single time and make those choices and committing to those choices and starting and finishing up a project. But some artists, they just need somebody there to tell them, oh, this is the project. We need to to do this and that. And so that's how they thrive. And so if you're that person, then I would just suggest to put yourself into that situation or environment. Like it could be a community, art community, or group of friends, whatever the case may be, art school or whatever. And that way you have that structure. So that would be my my recommendation. And it's the same thing with art block. Like I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, art block, like you have to define it. What do you mean by that exactly? Because that could mean a lot of different things. And so I always go back to having a process for you to do work, Sorry if my monitor is not moving. It's just sometimes I have to do things on the other monitor here. Oh, that makes sense. Mustic 2243. All right, let's see. I broke for personal. So personal projects, at least to me, was never a big thing. Like I I never had. Yes, I did some personal stuff like portfolio and stuff like that, but I never had this huge desire to work on my own thing as an artist. I never had that. I didn't grow up as an artist. Like I didn't grow up, making art and things for myself. Like I joined the art thing just because I wanted to work on things that I like video games and stuff, right? So I wanted to be part of those projects. So that was like my main motivation. And so I never had that desire. And yes, I work on personal things, but most of the time it was rooted on things that were established. So sometimes I will play a game that I really love, and I just wanted to do a project that would fit the world of that game, and almost like fan art type of thing. And so um, that was sort of the uh, the main motivation, right? And so and you know, like nowadays, I mostly do all the stuff that I do personally is mostly for the education purposes, right? So that's my motivation in itself, the education part of it. And it's hard, right? Like sometimes, let's say sometimes, um, like I'm making this huge tutorial on portfolio building, and at work at Wizards, there's some weeks that is like really hard. Like it's mostly like mentally because I have to come up with so many. I try to come up with so many ideas during the day for work that sometimes I'm fried on coming up with ideas for for the thing that I'm working outside of work, right? And so what I like doing is, you have when you're doing art, you have the mental figuring it out design aspect of things, right? Like the actual, like, which I think is the hardest part, to figure out a design that fits the narrative or the story, or fixing the problem design wise that you need to fix. And then the other part is the technical part, right? So so for example, when I what I'm doing here right now is the design aspect of thing, where I really have to think and being like super intentional, and fixing the problems and the design and the shapes and all that stuff. But then when I take this into 3D, it's the technical part, which is the easiest part, right? I can watch a movie while I'm doing it, right? Because it's technical. It's just spending time and modeling things. And so if I'm really tired on the mental part, on the design part, then I just try to do technical things at the end of the day, or during that week, because I'm tired, right? And so I try to complement each other when I try to, when I feel overwhelmed in that sense. But it doesn't mean that I'm art block or anything. It's just I'm tired. It's like working out, right? I know I can do a certain amount of push-ups in one day, and once I reach that threshold, I cannot do anymore. But I can do squats, or I can go for a run or something else, right? And so I need to recover from that, and usually the next day or the week after, I'm usually back to normal. So I try not to spend too much time apart not doing that thing. Yeah, Mustik, I hope that helps. I do show my process on that, so it might look different for you, right? Like you may come up with a different process, and which is what you should do. You should just find what works for you in that sense. Um, but I'm a huge believer in that, uh, to be able to be consistent in making art. Do you think being a concept artist has a better future, or being a game developer? Well, I mean, concept art is part of game developing. Not sure what you mean by that. It's better if you are working with games a lot before. Yeah, as a concept artist, you're part of the game developer umbrella. Um, So you may mean something a little bit different from that. Not sure what you mean. Oh, like a producer type of. Like you work with the production side of things, financial side of things of game developer instead of the actual making the game. Or you mean like you will make more money as a game developer or as a concept artist? Yeah, I mean that's tricky. That is tricky because I think you can be successful in both. Um, I think it's gonna come down about what you're willing to do. Like if you're just chasing the money, right? Like yeah, like if you're chasing the money, like that's your goal, right? It doesn't matter what you do. Um, I'll probably follow the not the concept artist side, just because I think there's more opportunities also to jump from industry to industry in that sense. If you're a concept artist, yes, you can make money, like good money, like so, good money. But I think it's a lot more tricky, and I think you have to be. I think you will have. I think there's less chances of that. I think that you have to be very creative with how you make the money. You cannot just rely on working for a good company and that's it, or having a certain amount of followers and that's it, right? Like you have to be able to be creative in earning money this way and earning money this way and this way, and then when you combine all those things, like you can, right? And so there's still space for both of them, right? But I think you will have to be more creative on the concept artist side. Yeah, Shady. It depends. We have had situations like that. At Wizards, we do a lot of, not a lot, but we do outsourcing, especially for concept pushes and stuff. And concept pushes in our side are very high intensive in terms of like, we have to turn in things like every single day, a couple ideas and concepts and stuff. And so you have to be able to work fast. um, and sometimes it's sometimes there are artists that are not as fast as, for example, myself or some of the other older um, concept artists there. And usually that's totally fine. I think there's a pretty big gray area of being able to do that, right? um, like we have never had a situation where it's just like you're so slow that you can't even produce something. And if that's the case, that's usually there's something wrong there, right? But I think there's a big area of, or big gray area of, how much you produce in between there. And I think that's also something that you can actually get better at in the job if you're if you're actually looking to improve in that sense, right? um, and so So yeah, there's a big area in that sense. Hey, no problem, Sloth. And that's my pleasure. I always thought about that because I see most of the time concept artists get a lot of money out of making concept arts for game projects. Yeah, and it's also depend like who you're working for as well, right? Like some companies just would just pay more. Um, some artists are overpaid. Some artists are underpaid. Um, I've seen situations where a lead artist or a senior artist gets paid more than an art director or their own art director, right? Which I mean that's a different discussion in terms of in terms of experience and also negotiations and all those things, right? There's a lot of aspects that you have to take into consideration for that. So Marlene, so how long did you usually take for one background concept round? That always varied. Sometimes I had to do 2 3 backgrounds in a day, but sometimes I had 3 4 days for one background. um Especially if I had like renders from the 3D, like I could do at one point I was doing like 3 backgrounds a day if I had a render from the 3D. And so if we were in like a really nasty crunch time, we just pump out renders, and then I'll grab 2 or 3 and I just like really 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 just like try to get over them. But easy days, there were sometimes, oh, we need this establishing background in by the end of the week type thing, and it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday. So it really really depends. Oh, right now I'm trying to figure out the breakdown of the flooring on this place here. So how I'm breaking up the floors. Um, in most cases, the floors, sometimes the walls and ceilings usually have the most real estate, and so a lot of people like talk to a lot of students and stuff. Sometimes they forget to bring some of that design aspect into those areas, when it actually like it really takes a lot of the real estate of your scene. And so I just took a top down view and trying to figure out how I'm gonna break up the materials and the textures into here, with whatever design I'm gonna make. This is one of those cases where I probably should have done something more technical. Since it's supposed to be a more relaxed time here, but we'll do what we can. Yeah, I also have also did a render. Yeah, exactly. Instead of just putting like one material all throughout the space, like I want to be able to break it up and bring some intentional design into it. And I have also need a took a render of this wall because I'm gonna have some sort of like a shelf here, but I want to do some cool design with it, so I'm gonna be able to. I want to be able to like sketch and maybe have like some sort of like a mural thing, and then you have the books here or something. Maybe it's broken up this way or something. Maybe bring some sort of design sense into that. That's gonna be this wall back here. It's gonna be a book there, a bookshelf thing in there. But one problem at a time. Yes. Yeah. I'm building a project based on that. So I do have to change that pillar though, because it's not gonna fit the new vision of the design. So I gotta tweak it a little bit still, but should be good. Let's see. Oh, no problem, Eileen. My pleasure. Sorry, I'm changing my music here. Oh, hey, Zeta. Wait, aren't you on our community? I think we're in a community. Your name sounds familiar. Yeah. Yeah, I recognize your name. To stream. I don't know. I tried it a long time ago. Excuse me. Tried a long time ago, but I don't know. It felt like a whole new job, to be honest. And YouTube is already like, I already have a YouTube and stuff, but I don't even know if it's gonna even be better if I do it on Twitch than on YouTube. I don't know. What would be the difference for you guys, for example, whether I do it on YouTube or on Twitch? More crazy people in live chats. Oh. Yeah, I don't think I have a big of a following that will get too many crazy people, I think. So I'm not super worried about that. Oh, both at the same time? Slight increase in reach. Yeah. That makes sense. Oh shit! All right, get some rest. Thank you for coming. When you do this stage, are you only concerned about value separation and shapes, or are you already thinking what the elements are or the material? Yeah, exactly what you said. Mostly value separation, the shapes, any um, any material separation. But I am thinking already, since I have sort of like an idea of what the materials will be, since I'm based on my reference and all that. um, I am thinking a little bit about that as well. But the main thing is value separation, because it could be any material. As long as the value separation works, it could be any material. So it's pretty standard for streamers to stream on YouTube, Kick, and Twitch all at once. Just have their chats combined with a third-party program. It's slightly more work, but could be fun. Yeah. Yeah. The part where it's more work is I'm trying to simplify my life a lot more these days. There's so much stuff that I'm working on that yeah, that's something definitely to think about, but I'll have to figure it out. I don't want to I really don't want to become a streamer technically, right? Like that's not me. I do like streaming, but I know that could be a whole new job, and I have already too many of those already. So Yeah, and to be honest, for me, like at least right now, like today, streaming is mostly just for me, like hanging out. Like I just wanna hang out with people while I work. There's really not that pressure of like me performing something great. Just have a chat with whoever gets on, and me getting ahead of some work that I want to do in the weekends, and obviously if anybody has like questions and stuff, definitely go through those. But I didn't have it like planned out of what I was gonna work on or anything like that. Anybody working on a project or something? Yeah, so yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely would like to reach more people. Obviously, um, it's just I always fall into the putting more work on myself than I should. Um, but yeah, probably if I continue doing this, even if it's just like once a week or something, um, I think eventually it's gonna happen anyway. So Oh, nice. That sounds interesting. Oh, I don't mind. If you don't mind me asking, what has been your favorite and least favorite aspect of working in concept design art? I mean, for sure, my favorite thing has been the just working on projects that I really like. That's the whole reason why I was doing art, for the most part. The least part, mm, the least part. Let me give it a thought. Um, I don't want to say just a random thing. um, I think one of the things would be just working with people that you're not, um, that you're not, that you don't get along well with. That could be on the top of the list. Um, I think working for a yeah, that's probably the top of the list. I never had really bad interactions with actual clients. Um, like it's usually pretty straightforward. Uh, Obviously, they're not all perfect, or I've had some issues and stuff, but they're just regular issues that you can resolve. Um, the other thing that I really dislike is working on a project where let me see, how can I say this. Um, so recently, I work on not recently, but last year, I work on a project where um, I did some artwork for a very famous artist, and I wasn't allowed to post anything of it at all whatsoever, even though the final product came out. Um, and it was more like I couldn't even say that I worked on it online. Um, so there was a lot of politics around that project in particular, and so that sort of discouraged me to like even like talk about it. Um, so something came out that was humongous, and a lot of people don't even know that I even worked on it. Only like close people. Um, so that's one bad thing. But to be honest, I really don't let most things like that. That gets me a little bit irritated. But you know, I say I got paid for the job. It was good money. Like I usually move on fairly quickly from a project when I'm done. Um, so I think miscommunication is a big thing in the industry too, between like teammates and and just overall communication. Um, yeah, and the funny thing that I wasn't even proud of the actual work in terms of like I probably wouldn't even have that on my portfolio, but because of the work was tied to a really big name, it would have bring a lot of eyes to me, which is very important as an artist, right? But the project in itself, it wasn't that great. Like it wasn't. I mean, it was a good job. Like I did a good job, and I solved the issues and design wise and all that stuff. But um, um, yeah, that was the biggest thing. But what can you do? Just move on and continue working on your stuff. Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. I mean, it usually doesn't happen as much. I think on like actual industry, like if you work for Marvel and stuff like that, unless they cancel the project. Like I remember when I was in Powerhouse working on Castlevania, um, another project that I worked on there was a series for a what's it called, a an interpretation of Ramayana, like Hinduism, like Hindu mythology, and we worked for months on that project. And it was, it was greenlit and everything, so we were working like on the script um, and we did a bunch of concepts and stuff like that. It was, I think it was probably the first project there that we spent a big amount of time concepting visuals, right? Like we were actually doing concept art for the series. So it's gonna be a series like Castlevania. Also Castlevania, we didn't do much concept art, and so like it was a great project. Like the design, the aesthetic, it was coming along like super awesome. And I think it was like a year later, something like that. There were some politics happening in India and all this, like a whole issue thing that we didn't have control of, and they canceled the whole project, and that has never seen the light of day. I was actually going through my old files last week, like organizing and stuff, and I saw the artwork that we were doing. I was like, oh man, this project would have been so cool to like see it to fruition, but nobody will ever know. Um, yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't think I even have it on this computer, so I could actually show you guys. But um, yeah, it was a really cool project. I was super excited about that one, even more than Castlevania. Um, but fortunately, it didn't happen. Um, when you say people you don't get along with, you mean in a creative sense or more so nasty personalities? Um, yeah, mostly like personality wise. Creative wise, like I'm pretty good with like separating the professional aspect to the professional aspect with the personal stuff. Like I understand people having different taste in their creatives, and so if it's somebody that is actually like, I've had art directors that make design choices that I don't agree with, but that's their job. It's not my job to decide. I can always bring my input, right? But they may go a different route than what I would like it to be, and I'm totally cool with, like, I don't take that personally or anything like that. But it's more like like people that you wouldn't hang out with if it was outside of the professional setting. And so it could become like a very just like a black and white interactions, transaction thing. Like I just do this and you do this and that's it. And that sometimes could be a little not problematic, but it's not as comfortable as it could be. But you can't do much about that anyways, because you're not gonna like everybody, or not everybody's gonna like you anyway. So hola José, acabo de descubrir tu canal hace un par de días y muy bueno. Llevo 7 años siendo archivist, ajá, pero últimamente he querido encontrar una manera. Hace curso de workshop, ya hago la oficina. Alan, sí, ya, gracias. Sí, yo tengo una plataforma de curso online. I can put it on the chat if you want to take a look at it, but oops. I think I wrote it right. Yeah, that's the one. Go check it out. So you build this one. Oh, you build something in 3D first, then you sketch out the top. No. Is this how you generate? Yeah. So I mean, I did a. I actually did first a. What do you call that? A VR model. I can show you. I have it here. I think. Let me see. Let me get rid of this light. So I built this model first. This was based on the general idea. I did this in VR, right? Super rough with the general idea that I wanted, right? And then from this, I did a quick render, and then I did this sketch here on top of the render. Just kind of figure some things out based on the idea that I have. So it's gonna be like traces of this explosion, magical explosion that happened here. So this whole right side is gonna be like destroyed with the blast, and so it's gonna be like light and water coming in, and it's gonna be like puddles of water around all this area and stuff. Some bookshelves and entrances and stuff. So then I did this, right, this sketch, and then using that sketch to sort of build a newer model, cleaner model with some of the new ideas. And so now I need to start figuring out the specifics of the space. Obviously, like the ground, which is the biggest part in here. Some of the pillar designs I already have. I got to change a few things, but the general idea is sort of there. And so just taking my time to figure out what the floor design is going to be. And then continue with the rest of the things. But I do this process if I have the time to do it. This is like a thing that I'm building up with time. Like I'm not in a hurry, and so I can do this back and forth. Because I can come up with a design on the floor like easy, like fast. But I want to make sure now that I have the time just to be more deliberate and intentional about it, to really think about it. And so that's sort of what I'm doing. And I'll do the same thing for other areas in the space. Like I'll do a render and just sketch on top to figure out what I'm going to do. And I can figure it out in 3D. It's just I think it's faster here. Like I can try different things faster in 2D. So. Yeah. Yeah, I'll probably have to do that on this. So this whole central part is gonna be like a little workshop, this whole area here. And I'm thinking that maybe this right here is going to be like a magical forge thing, where I'm gonna have like a big fire thing, and this is gonna be like a magical forge. And so the ground here also is gonna be patterned as well. So yeah, there are probably some unique unique items here. When do you do this type of design? Are you pulling mostly from your own personal visual references? Yeah, I have my references on the side here, based on the sketch, right? I build some architectural items and ideas. I'm also using like the Hebrew language as an inspiration too. So I always like to bring something that doesn't relate to what I'm building, in this case like the architecture and stuff, to sort of inspire some shapes and details in the architecture. And so I'm using this Hebrew language shapes. Like I'm looking at the, the curves here and the straight patterns here, the ratio from the different verticals and horizontals. Some of this patterning on this type of architecture. And so trying to use that as much as I can in inspiration for that. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of, it could be a double-edged sword when you do too much research, or find too many references, because then you're being pulled in different directions too many times. And so at the beginning it's okay because you're exploring things, but as you progress, it's very important to like really just like commit, like make the decision, okay, we're going this direction, and then not look anywhere else, right? Not get distracted by other things, because I could go into Pinterest right now and find like 20 other cooler shapes and ideas, and I'm like, and they're all cool and they could work, but they don't work for the direction that I'm going, right? And so I always try to stop myself to continue looking into it too much unless I'm building something new, and that way I can progress with it. Because there could be infinite ways to do this right here, what I'm doing, right? There could be infinite successful ways, right? And I think people get hung up into trying to find the most perfect way to do it, and that doesn't exist. And so as long as it works, that could be, successful. So Shit. What motivates your ideas, like for personal side of work? What pushes you to go, oh, I'm gonna try this thing without skill or project you're working on? What serious applies to you? Um, a couple of things. So this one in particular, is actually a part of a course that I'm trying to build for portfolio building. It's not just portfolio building; it's more like everything encompassing, um, having a higher percentage success for getting higher, and obviously part of that is portfolio building, and that's like the biggest thing. So the motivation for this was I talked to a lot of students on my mentorships and courses and stuff, and uh, always a portfolio development part question comes up, like how to do it, and um, yeah, everything that, how can you build a better portfolio that will give you higher chances, and what that contains in terms of the type of images that you should have. And so um, that's always a big question, and most of the time we concentrate on, like, how to design and uh, making cool stuff and how to render and paint and stuff like that, but um, that only that only covers the quality of the image in itself, like the rendering part of it, but it doesn't cover the quality of the image for production. So like, one thing is to have a high quality image in terms of rendering, that an image that looks good, right, design wise and rendering and all that, but also what's the quality of the help that that image brings to the production. Like, does it help the team? Does it help the 3D artists or the story writers or the art directors and stuff? And so that quality of those images is very important to have as well. How to divide your portfolio, how many images you should have, and all that stuff. So that was the main motivation out of this project. And also I'm doing it like a little bit more stylized than what I normally do, which is something that I've been trying to do a little bit more. But it could be, I did a project way back where I played a game and I just loved it, and I just wanted to do a project based on, that would fit in that game or in that world for that game. Yeah. Well, and that is usually the biggest motivators, at least for me. I don't have any special messages with my artwork or anything like that, so doesn't matter as much. I'm changing my music here. This. How long have we been streaming? I don't even know. What can I check? Ooh, 2 hours? Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll probably be here just a few more minutes to go and eat something. Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, it's been a long time. Been a very long time. Yeah, I've been good, man. Can't complain. Um, yeah, it's been. I just turned a couple months ago 5 years at Wizards. Um, so I've been good, man. Can't complain. What about you? Mm. Yeah, and I don't know. I hate complaining. Whether whether it's uh whether it's granted or not, really doesn't help at all. Anyways. Yeah, just messing around, just building um, a few areas with this. No playing work. Um, V-Ray is free from Blender. Oh yeah. Um, I used to use V-Ray back in Maya days, which is crazy. I didn't know it was a thing in Blender now. Hey Dodo. Oh, I see. Nah, man, I've been living in a cave. To be honest. Hmm. Hmm. Uh, yeah, bro. I've been sick. Last week I got sick. It's since Wednesday, I think it was Thursday. Man, but for some reason, like for the past maybe 2 years, every time I get the flu, it's like I get out of it in a couple of days, but then I spend like weeks with just like congestion and mucus and all that stuff. Like I'm not sick. I don't feel sick, but it's just like constantly, and I have no idea what it is. But um, yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm just being leaking and producing a lot of mucus, but I feel good. Like I've been training and all that. It's just not not passing by. So post nasal job, I had it too. Yeah, last time I had it was during winter or right before winter. Um, yeah, and I tried to test for COVID, but I mean, it wasn't positive. But I don't know. It's a weird thing. Yeah, Dodo. I made that this sketch with the 3D. Let me show you here. It's this one. I just did like a top view. Um, this one like this, just a top view shot of this, like that. Trying to figure out the ground elements. Yeah, I've been doing like the flushing thing and all that stuff. It's just not still the same. Yeah, I actually remember doing those steroids 1 year. It was like 2 years ago or something like that. That really helped. But Garlic honey. Hey Dodo, will you add the final design ZBrush or is the entire yeah, no, so right now once I gotta figure out a couple of things this way, the way I'm doing this. Like I got the floor in here, I got this bookshelf area thing that I want to try to design here, just to not make it like a standard bookshelf. There might be some other things that I need to figure out. Depending on what that is, there will be certain things that I'll probably do in 3D code. I still want to keep it mostly Blender because I'm trying to, or the style that I'm going for is going to be like this, like this pillar that I made previously. So it's going to involve more painting. And so I need to have more blocky shapes and all that. So I probably won't be sculpting a lot. I'll do certain things, but not a lot. Less than usual. And then most of the stuff is gonna be, you know, like this in Blender. Very simple, straightforward. To be honest, I'm not worried about AI. I'm actually more worried about how people are reacting to AI than AI itself. But I'm not worried about AI. I mean, I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's just gonna continue appearing everywhere. But I'm not worried. Sloth? Probably. Yeah, I mean, depends on what you mean by AI, because AI is a big thing, right? A big umbrella. Um, I think it could definitely have its uses. So, for example, like, I always ask this question, like, because right now it's not technically illegal, right? In any sense. I think it's also going to depend on the company that you're or whoever you're working with, right? I know some companies, like at my work, they don't allow AI, so I don't use AI. Let's see, move. Okay. Wait, hold on. And so depending who you're working with as well is gonna think. But I'm actually mostly waiting to see how the industry is gonna shape with the whole AI. Because right now I think it's in this like weird transition for whichever end it's gonna end up with, whether it's with AI or not AI. I think it's in that middle state. And so I think not wrong, but I think the less, what's the word? I think the artists will do themselves more damage to them if they're not at least knowing what's going on with it. So like, yeah, I think I saw something online, somebody reposted it or something like that. But I mean, it's like it's a weird spot, because like if if let's say for example, no, I wouldn't say another tool. Yes, it is a tool, right? But it's not. It's definitely not like when Photoshop came, right? It's more than that, right? Because Photoshop was just like an actual tool. Like I think AI has other things that are part of it. That's where the whole debacle is coming from. Um, yeah. So like here's and these are questions that I will ask people on both sides, right? So if you're an artist that is against AI, and your sole reason is like really your battle with this because it's being fed other people's work, right? So will it be okay if a company like let's say Blizzard takes all their artwork, which is theirs, even though other artists made it, are actually theirs, right? And feed the AI with that artwork, and then they do their own AI. Is that okay? Like, are they okay with that? Are you okay with that? And so, if you say no, then really that's not really the real reason why you're mad at AI, right? It's not because they're stealing work. It's probably something else. And so, are you also like, are people also going after the same way you're going after AI, after people doing fan art at conventions, right? Because people doing fan art, they're using other people's IP to earn money, right? Um, Another question is it okay to use AI even if I'm not making money out of it? If it's just for fun, just to create an image, right? I'm not selling anything. I'm not I'm not gaining a profit from somebody else's work. I'm just making an image to put on my profile or to do whatever, right? I'm not gaining money. So is that okay too, right? So those are all questions that I would ask. And I don't know. It's a whole. Isn't the same. Isn't the same if you leave work and somebody else continue your part of the work? It's not the same if you're within a company, right? Because like all the artwork, let's say for all the artwork that I make for Wizards of the Coast is theirs. Doesn't matter if I make it, right? It's theirs. I can say that I made it, but I don't own it. Um, so if it's for like a company, it's not the same. Um, but I think I don't think it's gonna go away. You're gonna have people like Blender Guru and stuff that are just gonna incorporate it into the workflow, right? Like inept at any meaningful composition design work, but can be leveraged for some. Yeah, that's sort of where it's at. I think now, and I don't know, man. Like to be honest, I've seen AI work that is better than like visually, right? That is better than a lot of artists' work, even my own, right? Visually, I'm talking just visually, like it's just a prettier image. It doesn't solve anything in production, but it's just prettier to look at. And so I don't think it's going away. And I have friends that are, for example, they're coders, right? And they use AI to do, a 3-person job in a day, coding, for coding. Um, I don't know if that's stealing somebody's work. Like that doesn't. I don't see that in that sense. I have photographers, friends that use AI for retouching and like selecting which images um, are like curating images from the 1,000 images that they take, type of thing. So that saves them a lot of time. Um, and so I don't know. It's kind of like it's in this sort of like transition place. I know high a lot of high end people like in companies and stuff, like entrepreneurs and stuff, that they use AI for like a bunch of stuff. and it's simply just say they save time, you know. What's up, mama? ¿Qué pasa, nena? I'll be right back. I think my dog needs to go out. 1 second. All right, I'm back. Yeah, the whole thing kind of confuses me why people get super mad. I do get some of it because I'm an artist, but like you say, it's not going anywhere. Experimental with generating texture for photo bashing, and that's been a pretty simple, efficient, without interacting with the human parts of the AI. Yeah, hopefully in the sense of producing the end product. Yeah, like I've seen, like I don't know, like I've seen somebody else, like for example, you do a sketch and the AI creates a 3D model out of it. Like that to me, that sounds like super good, right? Like that's not really stealing from anybody, I think. Creating a 3D model out of your sketch, your own sketch, you know, that doesn't seem like a bad thing. But I don't know. Using any reliable AI in your 3D process? My 3D process? No, for texturing and modeling. No, I don't do a lot of texturing, to be honest. The texturing that I do nowadays is just simple colors, and I have some PBR textures that I mess around with. But lately, for the past years, I haven't done any like really hardcore texturing. Again, I'm not a 3D artist. Or for modeling, what I do is, you know, what you're seeing here. I do some 3D code and stuff like that. And photogrammetry, I still do sometimes. I do a lot of key bashing with the models. Like I have a huge library of 3D models that I have collected through the years, whether I bought or create my own and stuff that I continuously like reuse and stuff. So, yeah. Um, I don't think I have ever, well, in the art industry, just in the art industry, I don't think I've ever gotten laid off. Have I? Yeah, I've never gotten laid off in the art industry, right? In other jobs, yeah. Um, so, um, I haven't gone through that personally. However, I am for sure prepared if that ever happens. So I think the biggest problem is that a lot of artists don't prepare for it, even though it's something that is gonna come one day or the other. Um, so like, I actually made a recent video about that. Um, and I think that the biggest thing is just most artists don't prepare for when that comes, and so it's an extra level of stress when you're not prepared than if you were, right? And so I'd rather not be in that position. And so I know that the job that I have, if I get laid off tomorrow, I'll be okay, you know. Um, so even though it's gonna be an unfortunate event, obviously, right? But um, it's like when you have life insurance, right? Somebody dies, um, like something really bad happened, but not having a life insurance will add even more stress to the situation. And so if you can avoid it, then you should. I took a world builder mentorship last year. Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah. I still run it every other month. I still have the one-on-ones always open right now. Um, I still have the one-on-ones open and the small group mentorships. I think the next one might be in May. I didn't do one in April just because I wanted to take a break. Work was gonna be very crazy in March and April, so I didn't want to do a mentorship during that time. So I'll probably open one in May, like a small group one. But I still have the one-on-ones open all the time because that's a little bit easier to deal with. How do you ensure getting a job with a company full time instead of freelance? Do you have to freelance with them first to get in the door? No, not really. Yeah, it depends on the on more on their needs, what they need at the moment, right? So, um, also depending on your on where you live too, it's like I know some people that they live internationally outside of the United States, and the only job that they can get is like contract work. So it's very temporary. And so if you're really looking to find a full time in the studio, which right now I would prefer that over freelance right now, um, I will definitely find a way to live close to where you're looking, just because of visas and local artists and all that stuff. Could be a thing. Companies they wanna. It's easier for them to get somebody. If it's a U.S. based company, it's easier for them to get somebody locally or somewhere near. Um, it's just a little bit easier, and it will make your chances higher, I think. Which is sort of like what I did. Like I moved from Puerto Rico, which is where I'm from, to the United States to be closer, and have more opportunities. Um, but if you can live off of freelance and contract jobs and you're okay with that, then yeah, it doesn't matter. You said on the one-on-one it's just critic and consulting only. Do you teach modeling or texture techniques in the one-on-one? So so I wrote mentorships a little bit different from most artists, right? I personally don't like doing a mentorship, right? If I call it a mentorship, to be a class, right? Yes, there is, like I've had mentees that, let's say they're just starting to learn Blender, right? And so yes, I go with them through, figure out certain things and all that stuff. Um, but that's why I give a lot of the big courses that we have on the website. I give them with the mentorship, so you can have the technical part and you can learn it. And so I always I prefer to see that the mentee puts on the work in terms of learning the technicalities, like the techniques, the technical stuff, and because that's the easiest part. And so I'd rather spend my time and our time together to deal with the harder stuff, which is the more like design stuff and solving the issues and problems and dealing with the mental part, the mindset part of it, instead of just showing you how to model a column. Because I can show you that in a course, which I already have, and I can just give it to you and you can watch it on your time and you can learn it and practice it and stuff like that, right? And so that allows for both of us to use our time together as efficient as possible. Um, but let's say that you're stuck because you don't know how to model, you can't figure out how to model a specific thing. Then we'll see. We'll go through that. I can show you. Um, but I don't like running mentorships the way that most people do, which is like I do a demo and then I do a little critique on what you work, and then at the end, and I even tell you, like, even if at the end you don't have anything, we you know like that's totally fine. Like I'm not interested in you having a cool image to post on social media at the time that we're done. Like a lot of the times, in most cases, the issues that some artists have are bigger than how to make an image. Like for example, like committing to a design, or time management, or how to develop an idea and solve more complex issues for gameplay. All those things are really deep problems that sometimes we just bypass because they're one they're hard to deal with, and two, they're not sexy for social media, right? And so I'd rather deal with those during our time, because those are more long-term uh, benefits than just making some cool images at the end and post them on social media. That's how I see like mentorships in themselves, mentorships. I cannot say what I'm going to do. The person of the inner design and the postman. Yeah, I mean that's what concept art is, right? It's just, it's been skewed the past years, but that's what concept art is, solving those issues, right? We have a problem in the world building that we're building, and we gotta solve it with our images and design. Whether it's gameplay or functionality or whatever the case may be. So. Yeah, I actually do a lot of VR modeling, mostly on Gravity Sketch, but I do a lot of VR modeling for work, just because it's fast. Yeah, I actually like it a lot. You design the motifs in Blender. So um, I'm assuming on the pillar. So this is the pillar that I made for, I think it was like module 10 for the foundations course that we have. I was just mainly talking about styles and how I tackle different styles, like more realistic or a little bit more stylized like this. So if you do this in Blender, I'm thinking about I'm assuming you're talking about these things in the center here. Is that right? Yeah. So this was fairly easy. I'll show you a little trick in Blender that you can do this. I just used it curved. So path, right? show you a little trick here. So if you have a curve, you can go into the settings under geometry, and then you can add depth, right, which makes it thicker. And you can see this is just a cylinder right now, but if you reduce the resolution to 0, you get this over here, like a square, and you can right click shape flat, so it becomes this. And so now you can easily move it around, right? But if you press hold on, oops, hold on. If you press Alt S, you can reduce the diameter of it. And so you can also extrude, right? Alt S to play with the thickness of it. Right? And so you can have cool stuff like this. And what I like to do is I just go into edit mode and I just duplicate the same curve, and I can just then move it around. You know, really easy. Once I did the design first, and then I just added a simple deform modifier, bend, z-axis. So like, just gonna duplicate this like this, right? So let's say this is my design, and then I just bend it, not this way, you know, wrap it around the thing. Obviously I did it longer, so I did actually did a mirror using an empty. So I can have it like this, and then you can deform it around if you need it. So, or you can do actually not a mirror, you can also do a array. Hold on. You can do an array. Let's make it smaller, right, like this. And then you can do a simple deform, bend, 180. And then you can just simply mirror it to the other side. Yeah, so fairly simple. Yeah, especially in teaching, what would you say is the most common pitfalls in production speed? Have you noticed students tend to have a certain thing that slows them? Yeah, time management and lack of commitment to their choices, meaning that um, that they don't know how to organize their time, right? Like they don't know how much time they should be spending on X, Y, and Z. Which you should know. Like if a client comes to you and say and points to your portfolio and say, you know, can you make this for tomorrow or whatever date, you should be able to know roughly how you're gonna spend your time to get to that result. And also the commitment issue with choices, like making choices and then committing to them. So a lot of students, they get distracted by other ideas while they're working on their own idea, and so they never get to, not never, but it's hard for them to finish something because they are in this road, they encounter some challenges, and then they look to the side, to the left or right, they see some other cool idea or something that could potentially be a cooler idea, and then they drift into that, and then the same sequence cycle happens, right? And so I've seen that countless of times. Even in my mentorship, a student could be working on one specific image or one specific issue, trying to solve it, and the week after they are like, oh, I started this other sketch of this other idea thing, and so like they sort of like deviate, and so they cannot stick with that and go through the problems and do all that. So sorry, hold on, I got an important text here. So yeah, that has been my experience, but that's something that I always like to call out, like, hey, we shouldn't be working against, we should yeah, or like really be proactive with, it's like anything, any other bad habit that you have in your life, right? You replace it with a different good habit. And so like sometimes people need to have somebody there to keep them accountable, right? Like, hey, no, you shouldn't be doing this, like, let's keep focused on this, we should be working on this. um, and also like at least in my case, right, I cannot tell what everybody's thinking, right? I cannot read their minds, but like in my case, sometimes, most of the times when that happens is because I don't want to deal with the problem at hand. Like if I'm stuck on a design or something like that, like I drift away so I could feel that I'm doing something, but I'm not really doing, I'm just avoiding the problem. And so I want to be self-conscious and like make sure that I stop that behavior as soon as I see it, or at least try to really drive that. And it's okay to like if you have an issue with design, like take a break for like an hour or even a day to work on something else, and you progress with something else if you're working on something else. But the problem is that we just forget about it, we don't touch it for like a week or two or something, and or we never go back to it. And so the more you do that, people have been doing it for so long that it just becomes a habit, right? And it's like the normal thing to do, right? And you have to try to break out of it, almost see it like an addiction or something like that, right? Where it's really like once you see it, you gotta stop it right away, cut it from the root, and like really try to work it out. Even if it doesn't work out perfectly fine, but you have to get into the habit of like not walking away from it or getting distracted by something else. What have you helped you personally the most to stay focused? I wouldn't say I have. I mean, I wouldn't say that I did something in particular. It was just mostly be honest with myself that I was doing it, right? Because some people and even myself, like, I'm like, oh no, it's fine. Like you sort of like be okay with having that behavior. Um, but it's like everything, man. Like if I'm on a diet, right? Like if I'm training for a competition or something like that, and I'm training physically and I need to have a specific diet or something like that, and I'm start to eat bad, right? And I go to McDonald's or whatever, right? And it's not gonna do anything if I do it just once. Like it's really not gonna do much. But if I make it okay for me to do it, it's just gonna start becoming like a habit. And one becomes two, and then five, and then six, and then that's when the problem starts coming. And so it's not that you have to be perfect. It's just that you have to consciously be active, trying to change those habits or be better in your process little by little, right? You're not going to change it completely right away, but mostly just really be aware of it and, change a little at a time. But it's not easy. It's not easy. Uh, but um, you also have to think about what's the alternative, right? If you do it right, if you have the right process and the right attitude and all that, and you will have higher chances of succeeding in whatever it is that you're trying to succeed at. The alternative is that you simply won't get it. And some people are not okay with that. Some people are okay with that, right? And so you have to be self-aware of that. Yeah, that's exactly my point. Yeah, I would personally say that would not be ideal. Like you have to really dive into why you jumping from project to project. Like, what do you mean by getting stuck? Like, what does that mean exactly? And so the problem is that if you get stuck, this is the way I see it, right? This is just my personal opinion. If you get stuck in something, and your solution is to jump into something else, that's gonna be a bad habit because that's gonna translate into so many things, right? Um, and so if that's already the habit, you have to figure out why that is happening. Like, does it mean that when you get stuck, it means that it's hard to figure a problem out in your design, or is it that you don't know how to paint something or model something? Is it, whatever it is that it is, like, make sure that you identify what exactly the problem is. Like, don't just think about it like, oh, I'm not motivated or I'm not inspired to make a cool project, or whatever the case may be. Like, it could be that you don't simply know how to model something, or you don't know why the lighting is not working, all that stuff, right? So you have to like try to be as specific as possible about the problem. And once you have that, I think it becomes more clear about what the solution is going to be, whether it's asking somebody else or having somebody else tell you how to fix it, or you learning a new skill, or whatever the case may be. But it becomes more, I think it becomes smaller, the problem, and more realistic to solve. And if you do that every single time you get stuck, quote unquote stuck, right, then that's going to be your new habit. And that's going to really make you either learn something new, or just trying to tackle the problem. And there's some problems that will take time to solve. You're not going to solve it the same day, right? That's totally fine. But what I don't want is every time I have a problem, I'm just jumping into something else, you know? Yeah, so that specific, right? that's a specific problem. You don't know how to make a texture seamless, right? That's a specific problem, and there's a specific solve for that, right? And so me, instead of me trying to go into something else, like you say, I start modeling something else. Yes, you can progress within the same project. If you like, let's say that I'm modeling this, right, and I don't know how to make an archway, right? Well, the solution is for me to learn how to make or model an archway in Blender. That's the solution, right? But maybe I don't want to do that now. Maybe I just keep modeling the things that I know how to model today, right? And maybe tomorrow in the morning I watch tutorials and I try to learn that skill for how to model an archway in Blender, right? And then I'll go ahead and do that. So that's you're still progressing with the project. But I'm not gonna be like, oh, I don't know how to model an archway. Oh, I'm just gonna go into Photoshop and start making a keyframe shot of whatever, or making a landscape painting thing, right? That to me is not progress. I'm just avoiding the problem, because once I open this again, I still have the same problem in my, face to face that I have to deal with, right? And so I rather either tackle it at the same time. Okay, I don't know how to make an archway in Blender. I do my research, whatever time I need to spend, right? Okay, I do this, and that. Okay, let me try to do it here, and I'll come back here and I'll try to figure it out, right? Or I can say, okay, I'm gonna deal with this problem tomorrow or later in the week, right? I'm gonna continue modeling stuff here because I can. There's still stuff to be modeled, and so that gives me progress within the same project. But I'm not gonna jump into another project for sure. Like I think that's a bad habit. And 99% of the time, like 99% of the time, I see this where that's the habit, that's the bad habit. And you see portfolio projects that are either unfinished, or it's just like one image, or maybe one image and a half and a bunch of little sketches. And you can tell that they don't follow through, the stuff that they need to do. So and a lot of times, I see this mostly with people that are not working in the industry, right? You don't have that luxury to work on something else in the industry for a client, right? Like, you have a deadline that you have to meet, right? That's your responsibility. And so this usually doesn't happen with professionals that have been working in the industry for a long time. It usually happens with people that are starting out or trying to get into the industry. So the sooner that you can get rid of that, the better, I think. Hopefully that makes sense. I think my issue is that I get stuck on a portfolio piece, but don't have the issue when I'm working. What do you mean by that? I'm not sure what you mean. I think I'm annoying, and I was in your class last year because I get fixated on specific part, like specific texture. I found hard to move on and choose a different texture. Yeah, I mean, um, I fixated on a specific. Yeah, I mean that happens for sure. I think you just have to. I mean, one thing that helped me is like putting deadlines, like timing myself and putting deadlines as well. And so, like, if I'm working on something um, that I know I need to get finished, like I'll put some deadlines in. Um, I don't do that as much now just because I don't need to. But let's say, for example, that I was like, I need to work on my portfolio and like I need to get a job and all this stuff, right? I will literally make a schedule up. Like, okay, I have 3 months for this, and I'm gonna divide it in like this, like this, like that. You know, first couple of weeks is gonna be this. First couple of weeks, weeks after that is gonna be this. And so that way, I am working under pressure of time, but also allows me to like move on from things. And so, um, I'll definitely recommend making a schedule for that. One second, sorry, I'm dealing with some messages here. All right. So if I have an issue at work, I can work through it in that 8 hour. But once I'm at home, it's hard to stick with it if I lose interest. I don't have the threat of losing my job. Yeah, yeah, that is Yeah, but that's where what is this? Hi, ATDD. Try 11. What is that? A donation? No, you don't have to do donations here. No, you don't have to do donations here. This is for free, everybody. Um, yeah, I don't know what that is. Yeah, so like if you if you do if you're losing interest, to be honest, to me that's just your the mindset that you have when you're working. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You almost have to like role play and pretend that there's some stakes that you will lose if you don't turn that in or if you don't finish that part. And that's super hard, man. Because trust me, I've gone through that. You know, even at this stage, right? And it's even worse. Like if you have a full time job where everything's taken care of, your money's right, and you're earning money, and you're working in this great, project and all this stuff, and everything is good. It's hard to spend time to keep working on those portfolio pieces and your skills and stuff because you're sort of set, quote unquote. Um, but but that's the way that you're probably thinking. And I'm just telling you from my own personal experience, right? That's what I would think. And for the long time, oh, thank you, I appreciate it. You didn't have to do that. I do this for free. It's okay, but I appreciate it. You don't have to do it. All right, you give it to somebody else. Um, but thank you. Um, yeah. So like I will make myself think like, oh, this project is important. You know, because it actually is, right. Like I always tell myself, like, don't rely on your professional work to build up your portfolio, because one, NDAs, two, sometimes it takes years to come out, and three, um, sometimes it doesn't reflect your current skills. So like I'd rather work on my own stuff that I'm more excited about and that is current than I can show at any time. Um, and you probably have a bigger passion for it. So it is definitely important. It's just hard to get into that mentality mindset. And I completely get it, but you have to try to you know do it. Yeah, that's why I believe in mentorships a lot, because it actually, you have some stake into. Oh, thank you, Slough. I appreciate it. I'll probably do some more later, but thank you for coming. Yeah, I'm about to head out too. Yeah, I think that's why mentorships, I think, are super useful, because like you have some stake, because you pay, you have something that you're putting um, putting on, which is money, and then it sort of allows you to make make work. Could be interesting. All right, guys. I think that's it. Wow, it's been like, geez, 3 hours and a half. I've never done anything like this. Um, yeah, thank you guys for coming. Is there a cutoff range to get into concept art? Another older concept artist, but I mean, starting on, is there a small group? Yeah, I don't think there's a cutoff range, to be honest. I think it's all about the skill. Um, if you're starting later in life, like after, let's say, like 40 or something like that, like I'm 42. I'm 42, and I started on my late 20s. Um, so it's obviously harder, because if you're in a later stage in life, you have other responsibilities that may not allow you to spend as much time to develop the skill. But in terms of getting in, it doesn't matter. It's not like the military or something like that, where you have to be young to do it. I will actually prefer to be older to get into the industry than younger. Um, so yeah. Is the small group work as 1-on-1, and like we just discussed it? So the small group, yes, is similar to the 1-on-1. Obviously, it's a small group, but again, it's still a mentorship where I don't do a class per se. Um, you do have access to some courses that you can learn the technicalities of things. Um, so you would just be in a group or setting. Obviously, it's less time um, going through your work, because there's other people, right? It's a little bit faster, right? But you get to see other people's problems and how they solve them, which could help you as well. So yeah, and it's a little bit cheaper, which is why it's a little bit cheaper, uh, more accessible, and yeah. But it's almost, I have it like, the way I have it set up is almost like a progression, right? So you definitely will start with like regular courses where you can watch on your own and learn and do things and get into that progression of yeah, yeah, like getting to doing work, right? And then you have smaller group mentorships, which is like, you just need people to like take a look at your work, tell you, oh, let's work on this, let's work on that, and you can continue doing that work. Learn a little bit more details on how to do certain things in itself. Um, and then there's the one-on-one mentorship where you're really like deep dive into like specifically for you, and more intense in terms of like how much time you're spending on a project, right? So the one-on-one is 3 months. The small group is 4 weeks, and then courses is just however you want to. But you shouldn't. I would say you shouldn't spend your mentorships trying to learn a software, right, or trying to learn the basics of something, right? Like that's what courses are for, because you can do that on your own time, and to take the most out of, like, I mean, you can do it on a mentorship, but that I don't think that's the most efficient way to spend the money on a mentorship. Like I will use a mentorship to really like get the most out of it, and so it's sort of like a hierarchy of like steps to do that. So if you've been taking courses and you're doing some small group stuff, then probably the one-on-one is better for you. But if you're sort of like starting out, trying to come up with a pipeline and figuring things out, like courses are totally fine. And then if you need a little bit more, then small group mentorships. But yeah, guys, thank you guys for coming. Really appreciate that. And I'll probably do this once a week. This was fun. And we'll see you guys. If you guys are not in the Discord, feel free to join there. I'm usually there. And yeah, I'll see you guys around. Thank you guys for coming.